Hi, I'm David Brannon, disability lawyer. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the difficult question, how to know when it's the right time to stop work to apply for CPP disability. After watching this video, you'll have an idea of when it is the best time to stop work and the factors that you need to consider when making that decision. Now, if you like the video, please hit the like button and also hit the subscribe if you want to be able to get our videos in the future, including hitting the little bell notification, and you'll get notice when all our videos go live, which is usually once a week. So one of the most common questions we get from people is how to know when it's the right time to stop work when applying for CPP disability. Now, the problem that people run into, and you may be dealing with this yourself, is you've heard the horror stories that it can take weeks, months, years to get approved for CPP disability. A lot of people are able to work but are barely hanging on, they're clawing along, and really they could stop at any time. But those same people are very worried that they can't afford to just have no income. So if they stop work and lose their income, they're worried that what if it takes 4 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years for the CPP disability to be approved? How are they going to survive in the meantime? And that's a legitimate question. Sometimes people wonder, is it a solution that I could, apply and keep working, and then if I get approved, I can stop work? Because that will be the ideal situation, because you would have no gap in income. We'll talk a bit about that, about why I don't think that is a good idea. But before that, let's get into the actual definition of disability. There's the age criteria. We won't get into that. We'll assume that you meet the age criteria. Then there's also the contribution criteria. That can play a role in this, so I'm going to address that a little bit later in the video. And the third thing, and the most important, is the disability criteria. To be approved for CPP disability, you have to have a mental or physical disability impairment that prevents you from regularly doing any substantially gainful work. So practically speaking, that means that you are unable to work. That's one of the criteria for applying for CPP disability. Now, keep in mind when you're filling out the application form, one of the questions on the form is, are you still working? And if you click yes, then practically speaking, there is zero chance they're going to approve your claim, even though that it is possible to still work and receive CPP disability. And we know that because we have gotten people, our clients, approved in that situation. But that is extremely the exception and not the rule. And most certainly when you're doing your first application, there is not going to be a scenario where someone checks the box, still working, and that they're going to stamp your CPP disability approved. It's just not going to happen. So what can you do? So as a partial solution here, what I'm going to take you through is 4 things to keep in mind that you should do before you actually stop work to apply for disability. So number 1 is don't stop work until you have exhausted all opportunities to stay at that job. So what I mean by that is that you have talked to your employer, you've looked at, are there any kind of duties that I have to do day to day that are more difficult than others, and if I didn't have to do those things, I would be able to keep working. So there's this idea that your employer can make what are called accommodations or changes to your work situation to allow you to keep working. Usually it's not a clear situation where someone absolutely can work or absolutely cannot work. Often there's this middle ground where if they were allowed to work part-time every other day, only in the mornings, only in the afternoon, if they only had to do lighter duties, if they didn't have to do those heavy parts of their job. Often there's a lot of changes structurally that can be made with your work situation, including your duties, hours, days of the week, all this kind of thing. Those type of changes can be made to your job, and they can allow someone who has some level of disability to keep working. It's important to show that you have tried some of these things in your job so that it is clear that you would not have been able to keep working had some of those changes been done. So number 2 is you should really consider going and trying working in another job for a different employer. Now, you don't always have to do that, especially if your current employer has been very accommodating and if your job was already a very easy job in terms of physically, mentally, whatever. However, if your job was not an easy job mentally or physically, and if your employer was not willing to do any type of accommodations, then in almost all situations, you will have to go try a quote unquote easier job. If you don't go try this easier job, that's the first thing that Service Canada is going to point to as a reason to deny your claim, and that will lengthen the period of time potentially to get approved, if you get approved at all. So it's important that you consider, is there some other easier job that I could go try to do? Even if it's a volunteer situation, that can actually work. If there's a light duty, easier type of volunteer work you could do, that actually can also be a last resort if there's not another actual job you could go try to do. It's all about demonstrating that you've tried to stay in the workforce and whether you can do employment that has the lightest possible requirements, both mentally and physically, for you. So number 3 is don't stop work until you've really discussed this over with your doctor and they've made some notes in your records. Ideally, especially if you're in a situation where it's a chronic condition, chronic pain, or other problems that are chronic, getting worse over time, it's important that those show up in your medical records to show that this has been going on for a while, that it's documented, it's not just you saying it, your doctors are reporting about it in their records, in their written records from your visits. You would ask your doctor, are there any solutions? Can we try this? Can we try this medication? Can we try this? And that it is focused on trying to keep you in work. Ideally, you're gonna have records like that showing that your doctor has put his or her mind to it about what they can do to try to help you stay at work. So ideally, you would have that in place before you stop work to apply for CPP disability. All right, and the last one, and this one's a tough one, and I kind of already hinted about it earlier in this video, but don't stop work until you know you have enough contributions to apply for CPP disability. Now, this is a complicated topic, and we have other videos that go into greater depth on it, but let me just say as a summary that one of the 3 criteria for being approved for disability is the contribution requirement, the other 2 being age and disability. So if you meet the age and disability criteria but don't meet the contributions, you still will not be approved for benefits even though you meet the disability requirements. So this can be an issue. You really have to make sure, especially if you're someone who's clawing along, you're in the workforce but it's really tenuous, sometimes you just have to hold out for another half a year or for however long to make sure you've got enough of a contributions to meet the contribution requirements. And those contribution requirements are that you have to have 4 of 6 years where you meet the minimum contribution requirements to the CPP plan, and that your disability falls within a period where you meet those 4 of 6 years. Watch our other videos to learn more about the contribution requirements, but just know for the purposes of now that you should not stop work and apply for CPP disability unless you are certain you meet the contribution requirements, or you're going to be wasting months and it's going to disrupt your whole situation and you've left a job now and you're not going to be approved, so it makes your whole situation worse. There you have it. Now you know some criteria you should be keeping in mind when thinking about when is the right time to stop work to apply for CPP disability. If you enjoyed the video, we really appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and also we encourage you to add comments down below. We monitor the comments, we love to reply to comments, and sometimes that will help clarify things in the video for both you and for other watchers. Keep watching our videos to learn more about CPP disability, and good luck with your application.